Hi, in this short talk, I'm going to discuss my travels to Iceland. Iceland's a small country in the North Atlantic Ocean. I traveled there in the summer of 2017. Here's some facts about Iceland. Like I said before, it's one of the more northern countries in the world. It's about the size of the U.S. state of Kentucky, and the population of the entire country is about 330,000. In North Carolina, that's about a little bit bigger than the city of Greensboro, about that of Durham County. The capital is called Reykjavik, and it has a population of about 123,000, and about two-thirds of the country's population resides in that capital region, including Reykjavik and a couple of the other suburbs. It's got an extremely long history. It was settled in 874 AD, and there's 5 times as many sheep as people. And they have something there called the Huldufolk, if I can pronounce that correctly, and those stand for those are the hidden people, where that they have folk legends of elves and fairies. And it lies at the boundaries of 2 plate boundaries, so that makes that especially spectacular, especially the physical geography related to it. This is a map of Iceland. You can see this area here. We've got these glaciers here, okay, good part of the country here, and most of the activity for the country occurs right in the southwestern portion of it near Reykjavik. And I kind of highlighted it right there. The airport is off this peninsula right, to the left here, and then you kind of drive in the international airport, so to say. Okay, but you can see the plate boundaries. It separates, where Iceland serves as a separation between the North American plate, which is going to the west, and the Eurasian plate, which is going to the east. So essentially, we have all of these rift valleys that run through the middle of the country. So where it's spreading apart, we have these volcanoes where magma and lava essentially come up to take its place. So we have a lot of tectonic activity in this particular country right here. And you can see these major rift valleys that run from south of Reykjavik all the way through the middle of the country. And then towards the southern part, we have an island here called Surtsey, which was formed in the 70s. That's also part of that too. In particular, when I was there, I went in this area called the Golden Circle. And you can see this course here in the southwestern part of the country. We visited a couple of national parks, a park called Geyser, a place called Gullfoss, and another one that I'll talk about called Kyrud. So we went through this kind of area of rift valleys. I'm going to show a couple of pictures from there. This first one is from a national park called Thingvellir, and this is the big rift valley here. You can see the rift valley as this country is literally being torn apart. I thought this was really interesting. And the next, next we went to an area called Geyser. We have geysers here in the United States, especially Yellowstone Park. It's basically areas where underground water is being heated by subsurface magma that is heating it up momentarily and making it explode, making it expand, and I'll show some of these pictures here. Iceland is extremely rural, so you can see the signs here. The nearest hospital is 62 kilometers away, which is about 40 miles or so. It tells you the temperature is about 80 to 90 degrees Celsius, so almost 200 degrees Fahrenheit here. So here, like you are at Yellowstone, go at your own risk. But these are some of the pictures from the Geyser Field or the Geyser National Park here. I thought these were kind of interesting, so you can see the steam coming out here. You see this water, which is being heated by magma, which is fairly close to the surface of the earth here. In some places, it's very far below. You can see some of the bigger geysers here, and hot pots and steaming pools here. There's one called Stroker, and I think I have a picture of it exploding. And this is a picture, and this erupts about every 5 minutes or so. And this is a beautiful sight. Here's another one. This isn't as active here. It doesn't erupt, but you can see this, boiling pool right here. You can see the magnificent colors. And here's just me with another of these hot spots here. You can see the rope, and it's roped off, and it's just amazing. As part of this Rift Valley, we have a lot of can't see them in the back, but we have these glaciers, miles and miles away. When they melt, they need to get out to the ocean, get out to sea level, the Atlantic Ocean, which pretty much surrounds the entire country. So as part of this rift valley here, this is called Gullfoss. Okay, Gull stands for gold in Icelandic. And this drops about 100 feet through this rift valley here. And this rift valley runs for about 2.5 kilometers, or about a mile and a half. So you can see the mist that's kind of coming up from here. And our last stop was an area called Kirid Crater, and it's about 3,000 years old. It's about 180 feet deep, and it's part of what they said it was a localized hot spot where a cone volcano basically collapsed upon itself. And this is a little bit different. The water, this water here represents the level of the water table, so it's a little different than what you might see at like Crater Lake, where the water level is maintained by equilibrium between evaporation and precipitation. Okay, but this was, absolutely beautiful. And this is about 180 feet deep and a few hundred feet across here. And this is about 45 minutes an hour from, the capital city of Reykjavik. And this is just another site of it. So like I was saying before, there's a lot of lamb and sheep, about 1.5 million lamb and sheep, about 5 times as many as people. So a lot of the delicacies, a lot of the food revolves around lamb and sheep. And I also thought it was interesting with the horses. So as you drive through the countryside in this pretty much sparse volcanic area, you'll see these animals just running about. The other interesting element about Iceland is that it's really far north. We're just south of the Arctic Circle, and I was there just after the summer solstice, which is the longest day of the year. And this is a picture that was taken from my hotel room at 11 o'clock at night. So you can see the sun is still up. Okay. So I thought that was extremely interesting. We met some people there who said it's total opposite around December and January, where you get almost 24 hours of darkness. So the city of Reykjavik works really hard to keep lights. They have fireworks and everything to make sure the area is lighted, so people aren't affected by seasonal affective disorders or anything like that. This was interesting. I had to fly out at 7 o'clock in the morning, and I went for a run at about 3 o'clock in the morning, and this was my view at 3 o'clock in the morning. This is the city pond here to the left, and this is the big Harpa music hall to the right, a famous Icelandic structure right along the bay in Reykjavik. So a couple of the physical features that we have in Iceland. This is the national church. The national religion is Lutheran, and I'll try to pronounce this correctly, but this is the Hallgrímskirkja. And this was finished in 1986, and this is the tallest building in Iceland, and it's about 244 feet tall. And you can see a statue of Leif Erikson in front of it. Like I was saying before, we had the Huldufolk, which are the fairies and the gnomes, which are popular or part of folk legend. Another one is trolls. Okay, and you can see the church in the background here. It's part of the church in the background here on one of the main streets in Reykjavik. Like I was saying before, we have sheep, so it's really big into Icelandic wool and sweaters, which are extremely popular. And another interesting thing that I thought was, another interesting thing that I saw was, the public art, which was extremely beautiful. So a couple other things before you go to Iceland. Even Iceland is kind of isolated in the North Atlantic Ocean. It's usually part of Europe. It's not part of a European Union, but there are some things that are European. And you can see plugs here. So before you go, make sure you get one of those plugs. The adapters that go from the American plugs into the European plugs, because as I went over to France, I needed one of these. So make sure you have one of these. They were fairly easy to find at a bookstore or whatever, but nothing's going to work or plug in unless you have one of these. Another thing about Iceland is the cost of living. I went to Iceland as a layover on the way to France. Air Iceland, and I'm sure some other airlines, have some really neat deals where you can lay over for up to a week as part of a round trip, to Europe or some other countries. So I took advantage of that opportunity, but it's very expensive. I stayed in a hotel. The hotel was about $200 a night. You're not going to find many other hotels, probably besides hostels, they're going to be much less than that. So the cost of living is extremely, extremely high. This is I thought this was interesting. We went out for lunch, and we just got a soup and sandwich, and it cost us $70. So once we went, had a couple of those expensive lunches, we kind of went to the grocery store, which was called Bonus. And they actually just started a Costco up in Reykjavik. We went to Bonus and got some food there, but it's still relatively expensive. You'll expect to pay about $11 for a foot long at Subway, and they don't have any McDonald's, but they do have some other chains there. So in conclusion, it was a really great trip. It's a once in a lifetime experience, and everyone there speaks English, even though I tried to pronounce some of the Icelandic words, but wasn't very good at it. But most people speak English. Extremely friendly country, but a little bit higher cost of living. But I would strongly recommend, if you have an opportunity to go to Europe, take advantage of the free layover program there.